Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unplugged with Taylor. We are here today with Dani Gutierrez. Did I get it?
You got it. You got
Yes.
it. I love it.
Well, welcome, Dani. I'm so happy that you're here. I love your content. It is uplifting, it's inspiring. I am
Thank you.
excited to learn from you as well. And yeah, so why don't you give everyone your bio? Like, how would you describe the work that you do?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much, Taylor, for having me. It's an honor. Love your content as well. I love how you just share from the heart, and everything you do is very inspiring. So just thank you for having me. I'm really appreciative. Yeah, guys, my name is Dani Gutierrez. I would say I am a transformational energy coach for men and women. I am based out of Toronto, Canada, even though I spend most of my winters here in Tulum, Mexico. And most of the work that I do consists around really helping people, men and women, tap into their energetic frequency, tap into their heart space, kind of going from their head into their heart. So that way they can really lead from a place of purpose, from a place of passion and true power. And so I help my clients with some somatic work. We do a lot of breath work, a lot of visualization, meditation, but as well as I've, come up with a few key frameworks and modules myself that have really allowed me to kind of help my clients go from scatter mind and should do's to have to's to like coming into the heart, taking a few breaths, and like really helping them channel their highest version of themselves through some deep meditations, deep workbooks, and just the coaching that I do. So that's kind of what I would say in a nutshell. I also host some men's retreats around the world where I help men go deep into their own emotional states and really process and clear a lot of emotional trauma, blockages, and just really help them go into a community space as well with other brothers who are looking to share that tribe like space, right? Because I feel like a lot of men these days are feeling like they have to lone wolf everything, and coming together and seeing that your fellow brother is going through the same thing and you can help them and they can help you is really powerful. And so that's kind of the work that I do from a healing perspective. And yeah, I'm also a DJ. So I DJ some ecstatic dances in Toronto and Mexico. And I love just life. I love creating. I love expressing myself through music, through people, and travel. So that's kind of a nutshell as to what I do.
That's awesome. You can feel that in your vibe.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I
it's
love
good
what
when
you
you can just step into your purpose and just live. Every day is like a Saturday. Every day is an opportunity to express, and that's what I think the world is. Why we're here is just to express our truth, and we're always evolving. So one day you're doing this, and the next you're doing that, and you're always happy and always feeling fulfilled. Sorry to cut you off there.
absolutely. No, you're fine. I would love what you said about community. I think that I was actually trying to, I studied about the brain for a long time and trying to understand, like, how can I rewire my brain? I want to hack my brain, and discovered plant medicine and
Mm,
decided that I had a sitter one time. And after that, I was like, okay, I knew who I was the whole time. Like, it was very transformational, but there wasn't like, I didn't feel in danger, afraid or anything. So I was like, oh, I can do this by myself. So I started trying to take heroic doses and have like a specific goal and thing to work through once a month in my apartment, in my downtown apartment.
okay.
And because I was like this ambitious, like independent, always done everything on my own. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I can do this myself. I can heal myself. I don't need other
Mm,
people. And
yeah.
I think the medicine kind of knocked me on my ass after a few times because
Yep.
I was not supposed to be trying to heal on my own. And it took me
Mm,
a little while to embrace a healing community or a community to do that work with, because I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't know about this. And the way that it finally clicked for me, like, this is actually what we're doing beyond the medicine, beyond anything else. We are creating safety in our nervous system in the presence of others. We are like letting our whole system and our cells feel what it's like to be accepted in our authenticity, to be around
mm,
other open hearted, kind people who we can trust. That's
yep.
more important than anything else.
Totally. I totally agree. And one thing that you said right about community is we've been conditioned almost, and I know like I can speak for men specifically, to, always trying to, pursue the next career objective, pursue the next milestone, make more money, gather as many, not even material things anymore, but just like gather as much status or purpose as you can in a lifetime. But the thing is that we're all trying to do this kind of separate. And, there's a quote that I really love. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's been a really big, big shift for me as we do some men's retreats. It's like, there are so many men and women that are trying to achieve things on their own, and we've almost like gone away from our roots, right? When you go back to all the civilizations, the Mayans, the Egyptians, all of the tribes that used to be flourished in love and abundance, they were always taking care of each other. It was always a community aspect, right? And I feel like society has like plucked us away, put us in offices, separated ourselves from our parents as children, right? Daycare, schooling systems, like we're always just going away and away and away, and we're spending more time alone. And that is essentially, creating this subconscious mind shift of like, oh, I got to figure things out on my own. I need to, level up by myself. Therefore, it creates maybe some competition subconsciously. It creates this like lone wolf mentality. I got to get through this, which is contrary to the universe and how it works. If you look at nature thrives when it's around others, right? Like trees allow other trees to grow by giving them water through their roots. Animals help each other, with shelter or food. And so I feel like this whole notion of trying to do things on our own is like the old consciousness, and the way that we are now surviving and almost thriving as a collective now is through empowering community, and is sharing with others and being vulnerable and allowing people into your heart, so that way they can help you heal, because we've all been through a lot of the stuff that has been discussed, right? We've all had breakups. We've all had, big downfalls, economic turmoil, feelings of loneliness, abandonment, like whatever it is. And if you try to heal ourselves, like you said, right, like with your plant medicine, the universe is going to give you a little bit of a nudge, and it might kind of knock you on your ass. But most likely when you go with a group, you'll be able to actually see that you're not alone. And I feel like a lot of people are scared of being alone. Like a lot of people, if you really take all the fears of whatever anyone's going through, whether it's scared of losing a job or scared of going for what they really want, and you strip all the fears away, whether it's money, conditioning, society, one of the biggest fears is the fear of being alone. And so when we are in a community and we have a brotherhood or a sisterhood or a community of people that have each other's back, at least you know that if everything fails, you've got a community that will support you, that you can lean into. And then that all of a sudden gives you a really beautiful cushion to go for what you want, to express yourselves, because you know that you have people that are supporting you no matter what. So I think that's a huge opportunity for people listening, and just in general, to lean more on your community, because it's a really powerful way to grow further and faster sometimes as well.
Oh, that was so well put and so true, especially in the West. I read an article that said America, and I think Canada's right there with it, are the most individualistic countries in the world. And so they value competition over cooperation. And then you have these more communal cultures where, like in some other countries, the idea that the concept of daycare is insane to them. They're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And all of that, supports a capitalistic society, but it's so far away from indigenous cultures who in many ways were much more connected to truth,
Oh yeah.
to real truth than we are.
That
Mm.
How do you think all of the, beautiful pyramids and ruins and all of these monumental, landscapes that were built, they weren't just like by chance. These people were tapped in, connected. I'm sure they were talking to other beings, getting inspiration and just getting downloads as to be like, this is how you do it. This is how you're going to position it. This is how you defy the laws of physics back then to create these things, right? And now we've almost gone the other way, the other side of the scale, which is dependent on the little gadget right here that we have, the phone and social media and electronics. And we're literally giving our power away. We're giving our majestic, the thing that makes us human. What makes us so special is that like divine essence, that seed, that beautiful, you can't even put it into words. And when we rely too much on technology or capitalistic or whatever it is, competition, we almost give our power away to that framework, and we lose connection to source, and we rely on other people, and we're blocking off inspiration from whatever you want to call it, source energy, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And that's probably the most important thing you should look out for in today's world, is blocking off that connection, because that's everything.
Giving our energy to that framework. That was so well put. I was thinking about that this morning, about being present. And I've started thinking about it as when I'm worrying what other people, what their perception is of me, when I'm thinking about what someone else is thinking, when I'm thinking about the past, when I'm worried about the future, I'm transferring my consciousness somewhere else that doesn't exist. I'm
Mhm.
transferring myself over to another person's, I'm sending my energy there. I'm
Yeah.
sending my going back into the past. I'm going to a place that no longer exists. I'm going to the future, a place that it does not exist for me right now. Like the present
Yeah.
where my energy and my consciousness is needed. So how can I call it back and keep it here?
I love that. I love that. That's such a great way. I mean, it's called the present for a reason, right? It's the present of Earth, right? Of the universe, because tomorrow obviously is not here, and yesterday came about already. And one of the things that I really love about Joe Dispenza's work that I really I teach my clients is that a lot of people wake up and automatically go into the past, right? They'll wake up thinking about the problems that they had, the money in the bank, the job they don't like, the thing they have to do, whatever it is. And so right away, as soon as they wake up, they're already giving their power to the past, which is the only moment, the present moment is the moment we have to actually generate that power for us so that our future can be different. How is your future going to be different if you're already using your present as your past, right? And so that is a huge shift is most of us wake up with yesterday's problems trying to solve tomorrow's solutions with that narrative, and the present moment is just squashed because we're either on either present or future, or sorry, past or future. So I think it's a really good way to, or a good reminder for us to, yes, accept the past, acknowledge it, take the lessons, but at the end of the day, right, the present moment is the only moment you can change for the future. And we sometimes get that twisted up, right? We believe that worrying about the future will actually help it, or trying to, manipulate it. But at the end of the day, the present moment is the only moment we have to change it. And technology and the world will try to keep us out of the present as long as they can. Advertisements, marketing, they're always selling you a future solution. They're always either selling a promise or they're trying to get you out of a mistake that you made, right? Lawyers, it's like relying on the past. How did your ex hurt you? How did your divorce, create so much turmoil? Well, again, our minds are being pulled in either direction and we're left with nothing for the present, which is the only state that you can actually make change in your life. And so yeah, that's why such powerful tools like breath work, meditation, journaling, even walking outside just bring you back to that moment, right? Bring you back to this essence. This is the only moment you have right now. And we forget it, as cliche as it sounds. Like this is the only moment you can right now to actually make a difference in your life. Yet we're always worried about either side of it, the past or the future.
Oh my gosh, yes, that is so well put. I read something the other day. I like this metaphor works for me. It makes some people uncomfortable. Everybody has their own way of conceptualizing it, but the glitch in the matrix, that works for me because
Yeah,
so I read something that said how to glitch the matrix, which is basically saying how to connect back with who you really are, how to
for
connect back with
sure.
your soul, how to see past the illusion of all of the illusions that we're surrounded by that you just so beautifully described. And it was like plant medicine, breath work. Every time I do like a breath work class or I'll do I'll put on one here and do one by myself, I remember how powerful I am.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I connect with versions of myself. I take back control of my sovereignty. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was saying like deep meditation, hypnosis, like all of those are ways to remember who you really are. And like with plant medicine, even when, it wears off and all the conditioning comes back, your cells have experienced another state of being, which makes
Yes.
it much easier to call that back in.
Mm, I love that. Yeah. They've experienced truth. I always like to call ourselves, we're just like big onions, okay? And our core, the seed of who we are, the essence is that middle kind of, you know, core, I guess you could say. And then we have all these layers of an onion, right? That we need to peel back. And these are all conditionings that we experienced as children. You should do this, you are that, labels, jobs, identities. We identify so much with what we do as well. And so how many layers of the onion do we have that we've just piled and piled and piled on through our lives? And we're trying to live our best life or be the greatest version when we don't even know who that little seed inside of us is. And these practices, right, meditation, breath work, allow us to remove the layers, allow us to dissolve the identities that we've created for ourselves and come back to our source and actually listen to that little voice, listen to the intuition, listen to the guidance of our higher self, of the universe, of our spirit angels, whatever you want to call it, and tap into our heart and be like, yeah, this is actually what I want to do. Like that outer layer wanted me to go somewhere else, but what I really want to do is do this instead. I want to follow my heart and travel the world, or I want to help other people heal, instead of maybe the outer layers asking, or your family members asking you to do this instead, become a doctor or a lawyer, whatever the narrative is, And so I always remember, I'm like, okay, today I'm going to peel back the layers. And every day I try to peel back a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until I actually am living from that core version of myself. And I know my best work, my best days and weeks are when I'm truly tapped in and when I'm living from that little core seed. And that's usually when I'm in nature. That's usually when I'm not doing as much, when I'm not in big cities, when I'm off my phone a lot of the times, which is hard these days. But that's why making space for these practices is really key, because it allows you to go right back into source and the little seed, and you can get really good clarity from that.
Oh, yes, I like that analogy. I heard someone say, how can you recognize truth outside of yourself if you are not clear on what truth is within yourself?
Oh, that's good. That's really, really good. Yeah.
My background, just like with my childhood, one of the things that I've really had to transmute, and I'm, still the work goes on, is looking for other people to reflect my truth to me, wanting someone to validate and confirm any decision I wanted to make, any project I wanted to start. And this has been through my previous career, through all facets of life. A person that I wanted to break up with, I needed somebody's permission for everything. I needed someone to tell me, yes, that's the right decision for you.
Yep.
That was hearing that quote, I was just like, wow, that is one of the big things that has really been a shift in my life. I mean, that was one of my ceremonies that I said, I want to trust my own leadership.
Oof. Yeah, because otherwise you're relying on external, and the external is always going to be just a smidget off of the actual truth for you. And that's a big deal in today's world, where we're all growing up idolizing celebrities, idolizing the people, the content creators now in today's world, where it's like, I want to do what they're doing. I want to copy them script by script or word by word and exactly what they're doing. But yet you're missing the mark on what your unique signature is, what your unique, like your vibration is, right? And I believe that, we are eternal souls coming to a human body that is temporary, and we all have a specific like vibration that we're all emitting. And you can try to copy another person as much as you can. You can dress like them, speak like them, act like them, but you are not vibrating literally at the same level as them. And so what I always come back to is like, how can you come back to your unique signature, the actual, like the stardust, who you are as a person? How can you come back to that and really like imprint this world, like stamp your name and your vibration and your purpose into this planet by following your heart, right? By peeling the layers and going inwards. And I feel like the moment we start to do that, the moment we start to actually practice signing our name onto the universe and stamping our imprint, is when we start to notice flow in life. We start to notice things happening, synchronicities happening, because the universe is like, yes, that's exactly what we want you to do. We want you to create in this world. We want you to impact this world in a way that is unique to you. So we're going to give you little nudges to support you and to congratulate you, because that is why you're here. You're here to shine your light as bright as you can, so that way you can help others shine their light. You're almost like a lighthouse in a dark storm. If you shine your light really bright, you can help others navigate and find their own truth within themselves. And I believe that's why we're here. I believe the only way we can do that is to really tap in and go into our hearts and really, really take a deep look at, who am I? What am I here to do? What are my gifts? And also, what do I love to do? Like, that's a big question. What do I love? What do I get excited about? Because if you are doing something, try to help other people, but you're not really like super passionate about it, probably not going to last as much and you're probably not going to impact as much. But if you really love what you do and you make that your purpose, and the general core feeling is to genuinely help others, then the universe will always reward you. It's like it's clockwork. So I think it's a really good way to tap into ourselves by remembering, like, what is the vibration I want to emit out into this world, like, and that's a very unique vibration to every single person listening.
Yes, I love talking about blueprints, and I love that term blueprint. Like it's like if you imagine someone just and we our souls were probably a part of that process, like working with a team of people to design the exact blueprint of who you would be in this lifetime and what your mission was and what your personality would be and what your natural gifts would be and the things that would transpire in your life, which give you an opportunity to transmute, alchemize, if you will, those experiences. It's almost like your shadows are your gifts once you're able to transmute that energy.
Completely agree. I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. We're here to remember who we really are. And what I believe, when we came into, this human body, obviously we're stripped of all the lessons we need to learn. Otherwise it would be like playing, the world on level 1, super easy. You're going to beat everything, no problem, right? And it wouldn't be a challenge. And we're here to learn. We're here to grow. And your shadows and your, let's say, mistakes or lessons, because I don't believe there are mistakes or just lessons here, or reminders, are the almost like the course correction, right? It's like the GPS navigation pulling you back on track, saying, maybe that's not the right place to go, or maybe that stung a little bit. So let's just course correct a little bit and maybe bring you back to that path. And that's what feelings are, right? Feelings, emotions is just energy in motion. They are literally frequencies in our bodies that help us course correct. And so when we feel lower level emotions like shame, guilt, anger, this is our body and our nervous system telling us, this is not what is right for me. This is not a vibration that I want to be in. So how can I course correct and go towards higher vibrations, which are obviously love, peace, acceptance? But we need to actually recognize that, become aware that these are lessons, and allow them to uplift us, right? And I think that's why tuning into our emotions, how we feel, is so cliche to say, but it's actually like tuning back into your GPS. And how to do that, it's so simple. You just go back into your heart, you peel the layers again, and you recall a situation or an example or a person or a condition that set off this emotion in you. It set off energy inside your body that maybe you dislike. And you can ask yourself, why does this have so much power over me? What is it telling me? Where is it showing me that I am not maybe complete or whole or have accepted? And we can use our emotions as kind of like a GPS to put us ultimately back on track for living the purpose and the passions that we are meant to do.
Triggers or portals?
Yes, that they are. They show us exactly where we need to be, or
I
where
was
we need to work
telling
on.
you, I really like the looking at all of the different ways that you can better understand your unique blueprint. It's so validating and affirming. And I also just love sharing theirs and interpreting theirs for other people in my life. And just, I had somebody tell me, people that aren't into astrology, which it should be mainstream, but it's not here in the West. And there's a lot of people that, I had someone tell me, a friend was like, I've never felt so seen from reading that. And it's almost like some of the things that you thought were inherent flaws about yourself are the things that make you unique and beautiful. And speaking of like transmuting a shadow, all of my stuff says that my main purpose here is to be vulnerable and allow others to do the same, to like break down barriers. My energy breaks down barriers in other people. And when I lead the way with vulnerability, it gives other people permission to do that. And what's ironic about that is that, based on my early childhood experiences, vulnerability was terrifying to me. So that's that like shadow that once you alchemize it, and what better way to lead in vulnerability than someone who had to metaphorically claw their way back to it, and feeling safety in being vulnerable.
That's beautiful. I like how you share that a lot. And, if you notice, really, a lot of the success stories you'll see in celebrities or athletes or actors, there's always usually a big aversion that they had to overcome, right? And it's usually that dark night of the soul, as we call it, or that challenge that they overcame. And that is now their gift that they're sharing out into the world, right? Overcoming, being made fun of as a young kid, and now they're inspiring others. They're inspiring a new generation. Like, it's usually like the yin and the yang, right? It's the experience that was so hurtful, that broke you down, that you needed to overcome in order to turn that into a gift, turn that into your platform, let's say, to share. Because everything that we're talking about, almost everybody can relate. We've all had struggles, we've all had victories. And I think the ones that do it most successfully are the ones that share their truth vulnerably, without any judgment, or as little as they can, because they know that other people have experienced that, and do it in a way that feels real and authentic and to them. And people will naturally gravitate towards that. We always gravitate to those who are speaking from the truth, the ones that just show up no matter what, because that's something we admire. We admire courage. We admire people stepping into the ring and being vulnerable and sharing what they've learned, right? And so I think, for you especially, like, being able to be vulnerable, that is awesome. That is a gift of one of the highest orders, because we all at the end of the day want to just be loved, heard, and seen. We're all grown men and grown women who are business owners and athletes, but you strip that down and we're just little boys and little girls who want to be held, we want to be loved, and we want to be seen. And being vulnerable is one of the best ways of doing that, because other people allow you in. You open your heart, guess what's going to happen? People are going to welcome you in theirs, and they're going to hold you and see you. And I think we need more of that, to be honest, for
Yeah.
this world to be a better place.
Especially so many men, like our society really doesn't allow men, spaces to be vulnerable. You think of all the, especially like our generation, I know, and the generations prior, I know you spoke about, it's so beautiful to see the shifts in some future generations leading the way towards the new earth. But I really love what the work that you're doing, where you're building a community of men where men are safe to be vulnerable, and they're able to, allow that comfortability and or that safety in their nervous system with vulnerability, which makes for better relationships, better unions, better partners, better parents.
Mm.
I really love to hear that. That's so important.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's definitely something that I grew up noticing. Even in, like, I was an athlete my whole life. I played soccer growing up, and so I was always in that, like, locker room, change room environment, right? Where, again, it's like just pure masculine energy and competition, and you're always kind of leveling, trying to one up each other, and which is fun. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the times I felt like there's these walls that are created, right? And that transcends into real world, where now men are growing up and almost not allowing for other people to see their weakness, their Achilles tendon, because it's something that makes you feel less of a man. And I've noticed, as the consciousness is shifting, as we evolve in today's world, the answer is no longer how much money do I have, how much power and success do I have, like back in the old days when you had the conquistadors or the empires rulers. Like, that is not the way to go anymore. The new earth, or the new wave, I think, for a man, specifically talking about men, is a man with is a strong spine and a soft heart. A man with a strong spine who sets boundaries, who protects, but has a soft heart, who can lead, who can hear, and who can support. And that's kind of the model that we have at retreats. We call them sometimes the inner king, because every man has an inner king inside him. And what does a king do? A king doesn't necessarily lead by forcing or telling people this is how it's done. A king leads by letting his people step up and be their best versions, and he will support them and will guide them in whatever way is possible. And so the men's retreats that we do, range from men 20 years old to 55. We've had father-son dynamics, which is so beautiful to see, where they're coming in and they are remembering the king that is inside them, right? It's peeling the layers again, like we talked about. And we're creating space, first and foremost, for the lower level of emotions to be released, because too often we're trying to manifest, or we're trying to create a life, of happiness, of joy, but we have these low levels of that are in our bodies, these emotions that are keeping us stuck. We have shame, we have guilt from previous years of pain that you need to release. Otherwise, there are going to be blockages, right? It's going to be like a roadblock in your life. And so for the first day or two, in our retreats, we have a lot of sacred, intimate spaces where we can let men, release some really deep rooted fear or shame or anger. where a man will stand in front of another and he will just yell or hold or push or, release whatever energy that has to come out, because again, behind every man is a boy who wants to be held and seen. And so these retreats offer like a really sacred and intimate place where, men can really just let out like the shadows and the crickets and the creepy crawlers that they've been holding on to forever. Once that is done, that you can feel this lightness just kind of come into the air. Guys are crying, holding each other, and you can just feel their hearts are just beaming, right? And from there, we then transition to, camaraderie and brotherhood. And now, what is the kingdom in you? What does that look like? What do you want it to look like? Who do you want to lead? How do you want to lead? And, we also allow, a full day for play, because I feel like play is one of the highest vibrations that, the capitalistic world has taken away from us. Like work is serious these days, or like, but why does most of our life have to be serious, right? I feel like play is one of the highest forms of creativity, and so we often play and do sports and do some hikes and whatever it is, to just reconnect with that inner child that has been kind of swept aside and kept aside for so long for so many of these men. I'm telling you, once you do that, plus some brotherhood stuff, and you just crack some jokes, you have some good food, it's powerful transformation. And we're just holding the space, right? The transformation is done by these men, but it's like been my highest calling to see these men step forward, and the amount of, the love that I see coming out of these men and going back into their society, back into their relationships, their kids, their workplaces. We have like wives messaging us saying, oh my God, like, I can't believe, so-and-so is this way. Like, who is this man? Thank you for this. I can't even tell you the ripple effect it's had on me. I'm now going to the gym. I'm taking care of my body, and our kid is doing better. And all these stories where I'm like, I get goosebumps just talking about it, because it's beautiful to see the ripple effect. And I think we all need that. We all need a space where we can come and be seen and be heard and play at the end of the day. So sorry for that tangent, but
No,
I felt
I
it was
love
important
it.
to speak about it.
I think that's beautiful. There's so many things that you said. Yeah, it was interesting what you said about a king. It made me think of something I read about the difference between a queen and a princess. Princess needs to tell everybody that she's a princess. A queen just embodies and magnetizes to her from just being. And I think there's some parallels there with what you were saying about a king. A true leader doesn't have to use fear and shame-based tactics to get people to follow them. They don't have to force anything. People are drawn to that energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're totally right. There's like a little analogy where it's like, a boy going as a jester to a prince to a king, and what the difference is, right? Like the boy, obviously young, playful, just kind of experiencing life, turns into a prince later on. And this is kind of like a lot of men stuck in their, generally, I'm not, saying it's always the case, but like he's to maybe mid-30s, where the prince is after he's on the up, he's trying to get his status, he's trying to climb the corporate ladder or whatever, and he's always in that like searching phase, needing more, right? Trying to desire more. Whereas a king, the transition is when you realize that you are it's everything, like you are already that, and you no longer have to go outward to search. You magnetize, you literally draw those events to you, and you sit on your throne and you help by serving others. You're no longer self-serving as a prince does. You're serving others, and in turn, those other people will gladly support you, will gladly serve you, and that is the difference, right? And so it's really cool to see a lot of the men kind of transition from that phase to go from like wanting and needing to a place of just embodying, presence and power. And I mean power in the most beautiful sense of the word, which is like truth, authenticity, and no need to manipulate. It just comes from within. So it's really beautiful that you said that, because I can relate very much.
Yes. It's interesting that, so we're very much conditioned to like work harder. The harder you work, the more results you yield. And that gets twisted in some ways. It's not that there's no truth in that, but I have always been very much conditioned that way, and been an overachiever, an overworker, just really burnt out because I had something to prove. And in doing healing work, I brought that energy into it. And I was like, oh, I gotta, I read every book. I knew all of it. I could quote all of it, but I just, was still feeling, I'm like, oh, it's still stuff. There's still stuff, still something wrong. And that, which is part of the problem right there, thinking that there's something to fix, something broken. But people kept telling me, go outside, just slow down, rest more. And I'm like, what that didn't land. That didn't jive with me. Like, I just was like, no, I need to learn more and figure more out and fix more.
Mm-hmm.
And really just in that past few months when I was like, okay, let me try this. I've really started to feel like, just be patient, just let it happen. It's unfolding. Like, notice it, watch it, like, stop. Part of the problem is that you think that there's something broken that you have to work so hard to fix. And when you just kind of like let go, it's like, I am grounded in my energy. I am feeling better. I am feeling lighter. I have shifted my vibration, and I'm not aligned with some of these other things anymore. It's almost like taking a moment to even notice the progress happening around you every day.
Yeah, totally. And that's because we're usually in this like narrow mindset focus of like, I got to do this to get to that, right? But we very rarely, again, take the moment to actually pause and zoom out and look at the tapestry of life and acknowledge that, hey, maybe that little dark spot that you were in, the really black kind of frame that you were looking at, was needed because in the big picture, that was the contrast to a really beautiful, like, image or something in the tapestry of life. And I always use that analogy of like, the dark night of the soul, or if you're going through a really tough breakup or something, you've lost a job or whatever it is that you're going through. Like, we need that contrast in order to actually learn the lessons and to actually go through the ebbs and flows of life. And I love this notion that we have seasons in life as well, just like Earth, just like the beautiful planets, right? 4 seasons. Like, you're not always going to be in a season of creativity, of flow, of power, of summer, where everything's flowing to you. Like, sometimes you're going to need a winter. You're going to need a time to just recharge. And if you're always in go, go, go mode, like, whether you like it or not, your body will put you into a winter mode. Like, that's why people will get sick. They'll fall into some sort of illness because the body is literally saying, hey, I need to stop. We need to figure out, energetically what's going on. And again, this hustle culture that has been just shot into our brains, into our subconscious programming, goes against that, right? And one of my favorite quotes is by Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher, and he says, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. And if you look at around you, you look at the billions and trillions of blades of grass, of trees, and the animals that are effortlessly just living their life, and they're not in a hurry. Yet how beautiful these like massive trees are, and the sunsets, and it's like, wow, what's the hurry? What are we in a rush for? Where are we trying to go? Again, it's the future, right? Like, giving our power away. And I notice that when I'm usually my best is when I'm present. Otherwise, it feels like you're swimming upstream. You're trying, and no matter how hard you're swimming, the universe is just going to keep on flowing down until you realize, you know what? Why don't I just let go? Why don't I just go into a season of winter, of relax? You let go, you start swimming downstream, and next thing you know, you go into this beautiful ravine that might have like the key to your puzzle. And you're like, damn, why was I swimming upstream this whole time? Why didn't I just allow myself to flow, to rest, to go back into a place of homeostasis, so that way my nervous system, my body could calm down, my mind can calm down, and I could actually tune into my heart and readjust. And that's usually where the answer, that's not usually, it's every time where the answer always lies. So yeah, I resonate with that.
Oh my gosh. I think it's so important to keep talking about that, because I know personally, I'm sure you do too. That's not, when you're trying to like make that shift, like you're trying to embody that truth. It's a hard road in for some people.
Oh yeah.
I know it's been for me.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is not easy work for sure. We're talking as if it's just some simple formula, but oh man, I got stuck in it today. It literally happens. But what's really, really good is the frame or the time window that you allow it to happen after you've noticed it. And every time, if it can get shorter and shorter and shorter, because it's gonna happen eventually. But if you can, minimize the time it takes between you in that mode and you snapping out of it and just flowing, that is where I think true growth lies.
Absolutely.
It's not in
Yes.
the avoiding it. It's in the allowing it, observing it, and letting it minimize every single time more and more.
Noticing and understanding that the power of awareness is one of the biggest steps in shifting, and not letting go of that. I had to let go of the shame. of it,
Mm,
of noticing
mm.
things and then shaming and being like, well, something's wrong. Why am I feeling this way? Or I shouldn't be feeling this way. But it's just that awareness piece.
Yes, yes, exactly. And awareness is everything. Like we can't catch anything unless we actually take a moment to observe, first of all, what we're feeling and thinking. Otherwise, it's just going to get swept into the millions of thoughts, and then you can think of it, and then as soon as you think of it, get distracted and move on, and you're never going to catch it, right? So I think awareness is the first step for sure for us to actually see where do we want to change in our lives, how do we want to actually live, and maybe what's going on with me, tuning into the heart as always, coming back and being like, does this feel right in my body right now? Whatever I'm doing, does that feel right? Because the body will never lie. Your gut, believe it or not, I think I read the other day, has 4,000 times more neurons or more transmitters than your heart does, or sorry, than your brain does. And so there's literally more pieces of information flowing from your gut than your brain, and which is really remarkable. And that's why, the gut feeling is such a powerful tool. It's like, does this feel right in my body? And that's the first step of awareness, is like, am I feeling like I'm in alignment with what I'm doing? Does this feel good? Or am I constantly resisting? And every morning, do I feel this, like, this little nudge in my body telling me it's maybe not the right path? And I feel like so many people live that day in, day out. And it's not a really beautiful vibration to live. I know sometimes a lot of people are in survival mode, and they're living maybe paycheck to paycheck, or need certain things to happen. And I think that's the way that the world has kind of been designed, to keep us in our fear states, to keep us in the lower level vibrations, so that we need, status to make us feel better. We need these people to look up to, so we can distract ourselves from waking up and empowering ourselves. And so the first shift, no matter where you are, no matter how much money you have in the bank, or whatever's going on in your world, is tuning in into your heart and body. Like, is what I'm doing feeling good in my body right now? You can take 5 seconds. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. And if it feels in misalignment, you can use those emotions as the compass to say, okay, well, why does this not feel so good for me? Why am I not feeling grand? Because life is a beautiful ride, right? And so when we tap into our feelings like that, I think it's a really beautiful way to course correct and go more into alignment, because this is an abundant world. You look outside, there's infinite amount of beautiful things going on. Like there's there's infinite abundance, and I feel like we forget that every single day, because we tune into everything that is not abundant, and that is that narrative of lack, of distrust and fear that the world, majority of the world is living on, unfortunately.
There's a lot of that energy floating around. I think part of it is the sort of the nature of the programming. Like there's programs that within, like you said, you used a really the framework. I thought that
Yeah.
was a really good way to put it. But also a lot of people, because especially in the West, are carrying that energy of lack, that energy of judgment. And I would call myself, you can probably relate as a space holder, like an empathic person, and I have unconsciously picked up people's energy for years. So
Yeah.
becoming conscious to that, and I have to actually like stop. Like I'll be like, oh, nope, that's theirs. I'm leaving that there.
Mm.
I'm not picking that up, because you can just feel it start to come into your field, into your, yeah, just, you can just feel it. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, leaving that over there, leaving it over there. And, that's an interesting thing, what you said about your environment. So like I agree. And again, not to hate on Miami. That's probably one of my least favorite cities for exactly. It's just different. It's not
Yeah.
you noticed, okay, there's other places that I feel more connected to my creativity, and the people, just the type of businesses, the environment, the culture. Every area has its own culture, and
Yeah.
that can make it a lot easier to stay in your own energy and stay connected
Oh,
to
for
your own
sure.
vibration when you're in one area versus another.
Yes, totally. There's a really powerful book I recommend it for anyone who's open to this. It's called Levels of Energy by Frederick Dodson. And he kind of goes on he adds to the scale of consciousness, which is a really powerful theme or a roadmap by David Hawkins. And he basically ranks human emotions from 0, being the lowest emotion you can emit, to 1,000, which is like pure consciousness bliss. And in that scale, you have like shame and guilt being the lowest, and then you go into like fear and anger, Then you go into like desire, pride, courage, happiness, love, joy. And in this book, he talks about not only do humans vary in frequency and in range, but certain places do. Not every place does. Every like event also has like a frequency. And so like if you look at like the World Cup, for example, the World Cup has a specific frequency. It lives on like optimism and hope and excitement, which is a pretty high frequency to live on. You know, it's that's why it's so much fun, because everyone's in like a beautiful party friendly vibe, right? If you take, let's say, like a country, let's say like Canada, and he writes this in his book, like Canada operates in level 400, which is the reason realm. It's like intellectual. Canada is very like specifically strict on certain laws, and it's very much respectful, and everything's orderly, and you can feel that vibration. Versus if you go somewhere maybe like the States, which is a little bit lower, not to say that it's worse, but it's more into like it's more into like desire and power, which is just, as you can see, right? And then so it's really cool because you can start to tap into these frequencies. And you were talking about Miami being like a vibration. I was just there this past month, and I felt that. I felt the vibration of like power, control, superficiality. And I'm not saying that it's all like that. I met some amazing people, but you can feel the consciousness of a place. And I think one of the greatest hacks is to really find what your vibration is, whether it's nature or excitement or curiosity, and live in places that foster that environment. Like too many times are we so abundant and joyful, but we're stuck in places that don't offer that vibration for us. And that's why I grew up in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, which is the capital. It's a very political city. It's a lot of government, so a lot of rules. And I just noticed, like, I'm this is not for me. Like, I'm not meant to be in a kind of cookie cutter box. And so I went traveling for most of my 20s, and I noticed other places, right? Asia, South America had way more of that zest and that flavor. And that is where I thrive. And so that's why now I spend most of my time winters in Mexico, because I know what feels good for my body, what vibration brings out the best in me. And I feel like a lot of people, not to say that this is like a hack or a one answer fits all, but a lot of people live in places that don't fundamentally vibrate with them. And they, not that it's gonna you should blame your environment, but it really does help you become a better version, and struggle less. Like you're floating against, swimming upstream a lot less when you're in a place that you really enjoy. So yeah, I think it's really important to choose where you are, because there's different vibrations all around the world, and it's important to pick ones that actually empower you.
I love this idea. So I haven't really thought about it like that every place and every event have their own unique vibration,
Oh yeah.
and looking for alignment. I think like I thought of EDM concerts or like festivals when you were
Yep.
talking, because a lot of time that's a there's a good vibration there, and you can feel that. A lot of
Yes.
times like big crowds overwhelm me, and
Hmm.
but like music concerts are that's a totally different scenario. I mean, it just feels different. People are excited. They're like, I don't, music just brings people together and unifies them in a really beautiful way.
It does. And you can feel it, right? Like as soon as you're there, you feel the excitement, the collective excitement, energy. Whereas, if you go into an airport right away, you can feel that lower, dense, kind of like fear-based idea, right? The elections have its own frequency. The pandemic that happened, that was a very fear-based frequency, right? And honestly, ever since I read that book, and he has like a million examples, even presidents, he rated presidents as their frequency, like Nelson Mandela, Tony Robbins, like he gave examples of like where people are vibrating. And it was just really cool. And it really opened my eyes to like everything in this world is just a vibration, and people are emitting a certain frequency. And if you really tune into it, right, the most successful or the happiest ones are genuinely the ones that are vibrating highest, not because they have the most power or because they have the most control. It's because they're in alignment with their heart. They're centered with, the gap between who they really are and what they're doing is small, is really, really small. It's the least possible because they're in alignment with their heart. And I think that's a really powerful way of looking at it. It's not how much fame or what you've accomplished. It's like how in alignment into your heart are you living? And the closer you are, the happier you're going to be.
Yes. And so often that doesn't necessarily line up with what your family pushed you into doing, or with
No.
what was valued in our education system, or with what was considered culturally acceptable within your community. And that is why I love, like I said, the concept of our blueprints. And I think that even people who are not spiritual, or who are not open to some of these concepts, like, it's pretty hard to deny your own chart when you're faced with your own chart. I mean, that's you. Like, there's no denying it. And it's interesting because some of the people that I've pulled their chart that I know, I couldn't fully see all of what I
Mm,
was reading. But when I showed it to them, they were like, holy shit. And to me, that says, like, those are things inside that you mask, because I've never seen, these parts of you. But when
so
they read
true.
it, they're like, wow, that's me.
Wow. Yeah. The walls and the yeah, the barriers, right, around the heart, protective mechanisms, the defense mechanisms can really mask a person, because ultimately that person again wants to be just heard, loved, and seen, and if and they don't feel like they can if they show that side of themselves, right? So a lot of us are putting on these masks, these facades. I know men do it all the time. You have like the sports mask, you have the money mask, you have the powerful mask. Like there's a million masks that can be worn, but ultimately, right, it's just a squishy little boy or girl inside that is just looking for love. And I really hope that this new generation of kids coming up, younger than us, and even us, like I feel like now we are the leaders. Like, the 80s, 90s, 2000s kids are now stepping up into roles now where like the torch is being passed on from the older leaders from the past generation. And so it's now our turn to take, the balance of working hard and discipline and the feelings and the kind of like woo woo side of that, and putting that in a perfect mix. And again, having a strong spine, but a soft heart. I think that's like the new wave of consciousness, and the way of the business should work. Like brands should operate, events. It should be a lot more emotionally tailored towards how people are doing, and how can we make this experience better for the collective, and not just for the people making money or the people organizing it. And so I think it's up to us as the new generational leaders to keep sharing, keep being vulnerable, because there's power in that. It's one of the funniest like juxtapositions. Like you feel like you're actually weaker by sharing your vulnerability, but there's power. There's so much power that happens when you share, because you have no idea the ripple effect that it's creating for others to step up and to resonate and to support you and to want the better of you, because you've shown that it's possible for you to be vulnerable. And so I think it's just like a really beautiful way that I think we're heading towards. And you can kind of see it in the way that different brands are starting to operate in different events. Like just things are becoming a little bit more all inclusive, which I think is really powerful to see.
Yes. And I think I finally am of the belief that when you tune into that frequency, you start to see it more and more. Like,
Yes.
another person might tell you, oh no, we're in the worst of times. Everything is doom and gloom. So it's where you're tuning into.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Right. We before this we spoke about how your frequency determines what you frequently see, and I think that is one of my favorite quotes. It's like what you are constantly seeing is just a direct mirror of the frequency internally that you are experiencing. So if you're at a low level experience or feeling of shame, guilt, anger, you're going to see a lot of people around that frequency hanging out, and you're going to start noticing, and you're going to take that vibration into you, right? But if you're starting to operate from a place of hope and neutrality and willingness and acceptance, even courage to change, you're going to be surrounded by people who are open and willing and courageous to share themselves. And then if you start, elevating even more, and you're at peace and you're at love and joy, man, next thing you know, every little thing that you do, whether it's having a beautiful sip of your morning tea or watching a sunset, or even the feeling of putting on a fresh t-shirt, is going to feel joyful and expansive, because that is the admission that you are creating. It's literally the blueprint that you're vibrating from. And so every single morning I try to drop into that, and I thank my bed. I thank the sheets for keeping me warm. I thank my earplugs for keeping me, without noise, my eyeshadow, my eye shades, brush my teeth. I literally thank as many things as I can, because it brings me to that state of gratitude. And gratitude, like Joe Dispenza talks about, is the ultimate state of receivership. It means you are literally telling the world, I am thankful for everything that I have. Please give me more. please bring more to me because I am ready and open to receive that. And I think that's one of the most powerful ways you can manifest anything you want, is just coming into a state of gratitude.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So it's so funny to me because like I feel that. I get that now. Like that's the type of shit I'm on now. Like I'm waking up, I'm looking at my dogs. I'm like, oh, another beautiful day, great opportunities of things I get to do today. That is not the old me at all.
Mm,
So it's so interesting to me to like part of my goal with my platform and what I share is to be honest about the person that I used to be and try to explain things in a way that people still stuck there would understand, because I know like the me a year ago would hear somebody say that and be like, what the fuck? Like that
yeah.
wouldn't land with me. It wouldn't make sense. Or I'd just
Mm,
be like, oh, that's just a super happy person. And that's not for me.
yeah.
And so, like, the way that it really is pulling back all the stuff and connecting with the real you, like that is us at our core. Like we are love, we love things, we're grateful for things, we're excited to be just experiencing life and even duality. But it's hard to see that before you've really felt it in your body. And like I said, there's so many different routes, but I do love the work that you're doing with bringing people together and showing them like what a big responsibility and great gift to be a space holder. But you have to be so cognizant of the container, because when
Hmm.
you bring in vulnerable people and you want to show them like you're safe here, you have to that's a big, like, that's a big role to play in somebody's life. Like I'm telling you, like, no, you can let it down, you're okay, you're safe here. You
Hmm.
got to back that up. I mean, that's,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, you can't take any, like, somebody a place you haven't been to before, you know? And so you gotta make sure that you've put in the work, that you've gone to your own depths. Otherwise, you won't be able to contain that, right? That space for that person. So no matter where you're at, you can always drop into, a little bit of deeper space into yourself. And if you keep doing that, man, you'll go really far, you'll go really deep, and you'll be able to really help others because you've found out, what your true heart wants. And that will allow for you to guide them to help them go from their head to their hearts and go into that space that it's so sacred. It's so sacred, and yet we don't do it enough. The world is a very intellectual world. It's a very airy, spacey kind of concepts, theories, ideas. There's so many formulas out in this world. But again, it's more of a feeling. Like the feeling is what really helps you transcend all of these concepts. And I think that's what overwhelm and burnout and pressure comes from. It's like there's so much movement in the brain and the mind. I have one of my favorite quotes is like, the mind thinks but the heart knows. We don't
Mm,
want to think anymore. We're not in the thinking era. We're in the knowing era. And you don't have to do the work. You don't have to scribble formulas and get out your calculator to feel how your heart feels. You just got to tune out the rest, go into your heart and feel. This is a feeling era. And I think the more we do that, the more flow, ease, passion, abundance, money, play we will generate. Like, this is an abundant world. The universe was designed for us to play, to be expansive, to travel, to eat. Like, all of the fruits and the flavors and the conversations and the hugs, like, there's so much out there, and we're meant to experience it all. And the way we do that is, again, by removing the limitations in between the ears, dropping down, taking the elevator down to the depths of the heart, and finding whatever the answers are in there. And only you can do that. But once you find out, and once you get a little snippet of that, you want more and more and more until you start living from that truth. And get ready, world, because that is a beautiful place to live.
Part of that for me was like building off the little moments, like,
Mm-hmm.
like the feeling of you don't feel safe around other people. Like, do you have a dog, do you have a cat, like where is your safe spot? Like spend time there and really anchor in that feeling and let it start to like spread to other areas. It's like building a familiarity with that feeling in your body, letting your cells really get familiar with safety, with love, with connection. And I'm just, my heart is, I don't know, I'm feeling so many things right now because I keep listening to all this and I'm like, yes, this is it. I want this for everybody. But I remember how what a journey it's been for me and how far gone I was.
Mm,
Part of my lesson as I move towards a space where I or move towards a place eventually where I want to space hold for people. Part of mine is putting down that savior complex of like, because there's an intuition of where is this person, or what are they ready for and what are they not ready for,
mm,
because you're trying to bring people there, but they're the ones, like you said, like and I don't remember if we were recording or not when you said this, but it was so well put, like coaches and space holders and people who do shamans, like people who do this work, you are just helping people unlock something within themselves.
exactly. Yeah. That's what coaching or any mentorship or shamanism, that's essentially it. You're holding the space so that that person can swim and explore in and find the answers to their own questions. You can probe questions and you can guide them, but ultimately they're the ones that have to play in the arena. They're the ones that have to go put on the equipment and go into battle. And I say battle as in a beautiful, loving way. It's like battling the ego, battling the distraction, battling the temptation to choose an easier route, right? And so part of the reason I love coaching and I love holding these spaces is because I get to really ask deep questions that allow the client or the person to really have an aha moment and say like, damn, I never thought about it this way, or why was I in my way so long? How could I not see that? Right. And you have these big moments that just click, and I didn't do anything. I just probed the question, but the person is the one who is doing it. And that's what it's all about, right? It's like the notion or the analogy of, giving a person a fish, feed them for a day, but teaching a person how to fish, feed them for life. It's the same thing, right? It's you're teaching somebody how to drop into their own answers, which only they can do. And once they've done that, man, it's a whole other series of books and chapters that now they're starting to turn and realize, oh my gosh, like this is the potential that I have. These are the answers. And it gets addictive. You get more and more addictive to finding out more about yourself, because you realize you're just an infinite well of abundance, of joy, of gifts. And we all have such powerful gifts. Like everybody listening here, everybody around us has such powerful gifts. And too often these gifts are squashed or hindered by all the noise that's in between the two ears, right? So that's why I
Mm.
love coaching, because you can really remind people, how powerful they really are. And you're not even doing really much anything. You're just kind of redirecting their attention and helping them find their own way home.
Walking each other home. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was
Yes,
really well put.
exactly. Thank you.
This has been amazing. I want you to share about your program that's coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, of course. So I just spent the last 4 months working on this really beautiful academy. It's called the Life Force Academy. And what it is, it's a 6-month online transformational men's container where I essentially teach everything I know from A to Z on energetics, the foundation of consciousness, how to move past, trauma, blockages, emotional guilt, let's say, and transform that and transmute that into stepping into your purpose as a man, stepping into the clarity and the direction needed to find your North Star. And it's a group component. So there's going to be about 15 to 20 people in there. And yeah, it's a group coaching program that I'm really, really excited. There's about 15 hours of video lessons, there's assignments. And it's just a really cool way to create this community of men online that are essentially all coming towards the same goal, which is, increasing their impact, increasing their business, their relationships, and just becoming a better, more powerful version of themselves. So I just launched that today. It's called the Life Force Academy, and yeah, happy to share the links or share anything with anybody who's interested. I think it's going to be really, really powerful. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I can add that. If you want to share that with me, I can add it to the resources. And then
Sure.
also, what's the best way? Is Instagram the best place for people to find you?
Yes. Yeah. Instagram is the best place. So yeah, just my username is at Daguti, DAGUTI _ Dani Gutierrez.
And I'll
Yeah.
put that in the
Yes.
resources as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Instagram is the best way. And yeah, happy to connect with anybody listening. Always love to cross pollinate and have different people reach out. I think it's beautiful to yeah, just learn about other people. I love doing that, and it's fascinating. So yeah.
Awesome. Gosh, this was
Beautiful.
beautiful. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. We discussed some really great topics, and I'm excited. I'm ready to just take what we learn and just digest, and yeah, keep on expanding. So that's why we're here. We're here to, like you said, walk each other home, peel away the layers, and be the lights that we are, the lighthouses, so that other people can shine. And then, before you know it, this world is a beautiful and bright place, and it's an amazing place to live. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a really big pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, everybody.
Amazing.
Until next time.
Mhm.